It's news time, 5:31. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
Let's go to Long Island. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. We see delays on the eastbound side of the Southern State Parkway from Franklin Avenue and Valley Stream to the Seaford Oyster Bay. You have heavy westbound action as well heading towards the Meadowbrook. Speaking of the Meadowbrook, southbound Meadowbrook is slow heading down towards Hempstead Turnpike. The Wantagh would be kinder to you trying to get down to the southern. Westbound delays, don't overlook those on the Northern State Parkway passing the North Shore Towers heading towards the Queens border. We're slow eastbound in that area as well. Same deal with the LIE, westbound from Lakeville Road to the Queens border, and then more delays eastbound approaching 106 in Hicksville. And then it gets definitely slower on the eastbound side by 110. There's also some westbound activity between 110 and the Seaford Oyster Bay on the LIE that you have to contend with. Now, if you're using the crossings, here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels at least 30 minutes out of the Holland, and that's not the main part of it. So once you get into Jersey City, wow, it's game over. Westbound 139 is super slow, and eastbound and westbound, I should say, 78 from Liberty State Park to the Newark Bay Extension. That would be the better option. That's slow as well. The outbound Lincoln's going to run you 25 minutes, and then you have big delays on the westbound side of Route 3. Looks like a stall between the eastern and western spurs heading towards MetLife Stadium. Inbound George Washington Bridge around 15 minutes. Outbound's going to cost you 35 with the Cross Bronx delays. We're slow on the West Side Highway, 79th Street up to the Cross Bronx, but then after K-Poc and the Henry Hudson Bridge heading northbound, you're slow heading up to the Mosholu where there's a stall waiting for you. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check now of your AccuWeather forecast. Here's meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Now, Lori, after we finally got above freezing in many areas today, that has helped melt off at least a little bit of some of the snow and ice we have on the ground. And any of that that did melt and anything that's wet heading into the evening hours will likely freeze up on untreated surfaces as temperatures drop again. So watch for icy spots heading into tonight and early tomorrow, as it will be a cold night under a mostly clear sky and less wind, below 18 in Midtown, single digits in some northern and western suburbs. Sunshine mixing with some clouds tomorrow. It'll feel pretty nice in the sun compared to recent days, a high of 35, as there won't be as much of a breeze as we experienced today. Rather cloudy tomorrow night with a flurry or two around late, low 27. Clouds break for some sun Wednesday, high 33, and then a little colder on Thursday, despite sunshine and a high of 28. Clear and 33 right now in Midtown, heading down to 18 tonight. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Legionella bacteria has been detected in a huge building in West Harlem. No one is sick, but people who want to use water in the building have been told cold only. Otherwise, they need to buy it.
Just 2 cases over a 12-month period, but management at 3333 Broadway will have to come up with a treatment plan and retest the water. In the meantime, says Freddie.
Got to take care of yourself because your health is better than anything.
Are you concerned at all?
All day, every day, until they give this memorandum telling us what it is.
Right.
Because they don't even know.
This resident wishes there was better communication.
We don't know what to do. We just found out about it. They knew it. They knowing about it now. Yeah. They're not telling nobody. So, I mean, what do we do?
City health officials say cold water is still safe to drink, but baths over showers to avoid misting. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM in West Harlem.
A search continues in Tucson, Arizona tonight for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, who may have been the victim of a crime.
Investigators say 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen Saturday night near her home west of Tucson. She was reported missing after she failed to show for a church event, and now Pima County, Arizona Sheriff Chris Nano says her home is considered a crime scene.
She did not leave on her own. We know that.
Nano says Guthrie has no cognitive issues, but is mobility impaired and has other problems requiring medication.
Medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal.
It's correspondent Peter King. Sabrina Carpenter had the crowd on its feet at the Grammys last night during her performance of Man-Child. But PETA wasn't knocked out. The animal advocacy group called the performance stupid and cruel since a live bird was featured at one point. The group posted, "Leave animals out of the Grammys." No response today from Sabrina Carpenter. A new development tonight in the case of actor Kiefer Sutherland.
The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office tells ABC News on the day Kiefer Sutherland was supposed to have been in court that it has not yet filed charges and in fact has now sent the case back to the LAPD to do more investigating before a decision will be made whether charges are filed against Sutherland. He was accused of assaulting an Uber driver and making threats in mid-January. He was arrested on suspicion of felony criminal threats and then posted a $50,000 bond. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
33 degrees now, clear sky here in the city. The real field temperature is 23. Noah Khan is heading our way. That story's next. The updates you need the moment you need them. 1010 Wins is always on.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good evening. 33 degrees. The real feel is 23 at 5:40. I'm Lori Madden, and here's what's happening. For the first time in more than a week, the temperature inches above freezing, but the death toll here in the city has grown. Striking nurses marched to Governor Hochul's office, urging her to put pressure on hospital executives. Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem says ICE officers in Minneapolis will now wear body cams as the medical examiner there rules Alex Pretty's death a homicide. If you're thinking of a Roman holiday, getting up close to a famous landmark will now cost you. But when in New York, a landmark building will be free for tours. In sports tonight, Islanders at the Capitals. 1010 Wins AccuWeather says clear, less windy tonight, low 16 degrees, partly sunny tomorrow. High 32. Wins News Time, 5:41. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
Hey, let's go to the outbound Holland Tunnel. We're looking at least 35 minutes. Lots of local traffic. Watts, Broome, Varick Canal. Pick your poison. But the thing is, once you get into Jersey City, it actually gets worse. Westbound 139 is bumper to bumper. Southbound Pulaski still has that crash out there. That's causing some northbound delays on the Pulaski as well. And westbound 78 is troublesome, passing Liberty State Park and heading towards the Newark Bay Extension. I would still go with that direction as opposed to the Pulaski. But we also have issues on the westbound side of Route 3. Looks like a stall between the eastern and western spurs heading towards MetLife Stadium, and that's causing heavier delays on the northbound side of Tunnelly Avenue, and the westbound side of 495 from Tunnelly Avenue to that area is going to be slow. But the outbound Lincoln has improved because of that earlier incident at the Helix. We're looking at least 15 minutes outbound, but then again, you do have that problem on the westbound side of Route 3. West Side Highway, 79th Street up to the George is slow. Better ride, not really, on the Harlem River Drive. That's just as bad from the Macomb Dam Bridge up to the Cross Bronx. FDR is sluggish. It's moving, but methodically from 34th Street up to the Triborough Bridge. Outbound George Washington Bridge, at least 35 minutes from the Cross Bronx. Working on that disabled vehicle, northbound Henry Hudson Parkway, heading up towards the Marshalloo. Delays that go back to K-Pop. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
After more than a week of these frigid temperatures, we finally cracked the freezing mark today. AccuWeather's Brian Thompson keeping us up to date tonight.
Lori, the bitter cold has been relentless over the last week and a half or so. We saw temperatures rise above freezing in most spots today for the first time since Friday, January 23rd, about a week and a half ago. And in Central Park, it was the longest stretch we had with temperatures at or below freezing since the end of 2017 and in the early part of 2018, where we had a 14-day stretch of temperatures at or below freezing. We'll see temperatures probably sneak above freezing again tomorrow and Wednesday, but some bitterly cold weather returns again as we head into the upcoming weekend. Lori?
Mayor Mamdani says the death toll connected to the cold is now up to 16. He says hypothermia played a role in 13 deaths. 3 other deaths were also connected to overdoses. He didn't specify. He also sought to dispel doubts about his own policy since the city has stopped sweeping homeless encampments.
We are continuing to do everything in our power to get every New Yorker into a shelter where they will be warm. The cold is showing no signs of stopping, so neither will this city's efforts. From information available now, it appears that none of the individuals who have died outside were living in homeless encampments at the time of their death.
And he emphasized again the code blue his administration began January 19th, saying the city has been taking every possible measure to get New Yorkers inside. As nurses enter their 4th week on the picket line, striking workers had a message for Governor Hochul today.
Nurses think the governor has played a role in extending the strike by allowing out-of-state nurses to operate here without a license. Former Nurses Union President Judy Sheridan Gonzalez says the strike could easily end in a day.
It's not about money. My hospital, they're spending $26 million a week for travelers. In 2 weeks, the money they're spending for travelers would pay for our contract for a year.
Health insurance for some nurses like Veronica at Montefiore is expiring.
It's just a sign that they really don't care about us, don't respect us.
Some nurses have had to take out second mortgages or even retire. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
A spokesperson says Governor Hochul's administration has worked for weeks to help resolve the strike and facilitate negotiations that have already delivered results. The governor urges all parties to reach a final agreement that recognizes the essential role nurses play in caring for New Yorkers. New York City's top cop says the last month was the safest January on record.
I attribute a lot of the success that we've had in terms of reducing crime to our precision policing strategy and the cops' brilliant execution of that strategy.
Commissioner Jessica Tisch is speaking to 1010 Wins today about the latest stats, which she says shows murders down 60% last month compared to January of 2025, shooting victims down 30%, and shooting incidents down 20%. Tonight, the Red Cross is assisting dozens of residents of a Claremont Bronx building. They were evacuated from their homes overnight due to a fire.
More than 100 people are accepting emergency assistance from the Red Cross after a 4-alarm fire tore through their homes.
Yeah, I just came like around 7, everything is done.
Wake up like that in the middle of the night with your family, your children, you don't know what to grab, what to do.
Victoria is thinking about all of the families impacted.
You know, it's so cold out and to have to go through losing your home.
Families working with the Red Cross have been temporarily relocated to a nearby school where they can take shelter and figure out next steps in the heat. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM on the Grand Concourse.
The New York City Council staffer detained by ICE has been denied bond. That's according to the attorney for Roger Asmar. City Council Speaker Julie Menon says Asmar was working here legally.
Completely unacceptable. What we're seeing in Minnesota is unacceptable. And now here in the New York City Council, where we have a government employee who had all of his requisite legal paperwork. He had every legal right to be working here.
Homeland Security says he was supposed to depart the U.S. in October of 2017 before he was granted temporary protected status. Meanwhile, Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem today announced that every federal officer deployed to Minneapolis as part of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown is being issued a body-worn camera. President Trump was asked about that today.
Well, it wasn't my decision. I leave it to her. And they generally tend to be good for law enforcement because people can't lie about what's happening. So it's, generally speaking, I think 80% good for law enforcement. But if she wants to do that, I'm okay with it.
And we have an update tonight on the investigation into the deadly ice shooting of nurse Alex Preddy.
The shooting death of Alex Preddy by federal agents has been ruled a homicide by the Hennepin County, Minnesota medical examiner. The cause of death of the 37-year-old man who was a nurse at a Veterans Affairs medical center was multiple gunshot wounds, according to the autopsy report.
It's correspondent Jim Crisula. A federal judge appointed by President Trump has barred federal investigators from destroying or altering any evidence related to the Preddy shooting. Amid a rash of artist cancellations and empty seats, Washington's most famous cultural center is temporarily closing its doors.
A White House official tells ABC President Trump will not tear down the Kennedy Center, but says it will undergo a renovation. The president on social media Sunday said he'll close the Cultural Arts Center for 2 years starting on July 4th for what he called construction, revitalization, and complete rebuilding. The president said the center is, quote, tired, broken, and dilapidated. The announcement follows significant backlash from scheduled performers, many of whom have canceled their appearances at the Kennedy Center after the president's takeover, and reports of plunging ticket sales. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
If you're planning a trip to Rome this year, you're going to have to pay more to get an up-close look at one of the most famous landmarks. Trevi Fountain will now set you back €2, about $2.35. The fee went into effect today. The Eternal City set the fee in order to raise money for maintenance, control crowds, and manage over-tourism. For those of you with a newborn, he or she may be seeing things more clearly than you think.
We can see that infants know a lot more than we thought that they did.
Lead author Cleona O'Doherty says the study published in Nature Neuroscience surprisingly suggests babies can distinguish between different objects around them at 2 months old. That's after having some view images like trees and animals projected above them while they were lying down.
It's like IMAX for babies, basically.
They underwent brain scans, and the result?
Their brains are processing the world around them in hugely complex ways. They're not just lying there passively, waiting until they can move around themselves and speak.
The findings may help doctors and researchers better understand cognitive development in infancy. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Free tours are on the way at a famous city building. That story's next. But first, Wednesday's time 5:51. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
Trouble in the Bronx on the northbound Deegan in the 230s. We have a disabled vehicle there, and that's causing some big slowdowns. You have delays heading up towards the Mosholu, but the Henry Hudson Parkway isn't better. It's actually just as bad from K-Poc up to the Mosholu, where we have a stall up there slowing you down. So trying to get from the Bronx to Westchester County is not an easy task on the west side of the Bronx right now. The West Side Highway is also slow from 79th Street up to the Cross Bronx. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. We're at least 20 minutes in at the George Washington Bridge, 30 minutes on the outbound side of the Cross Bronx delays, heavy on the eastbound side of the Bruckner heading away from the Triborough and approaching the Hunts Point drawbridge. The northbound Deegan is super slow from the 3rd Avenue Bridge up to Yankee Stadium. So slow you think there'd be a game going on. Now, if you're using the outbound side of Lincoln, that's going to run you around 15, but you have big delays on the westbound side of Route 3 between the eastern spur and the western spur heading towards MetLife Stadium. That's a disabled vehicle. Outbound Holland's going to be 30 minutes, and then when you get into Jersey City, it gets worse. The southbound Pulaski crash is causing big delays on the westbound side of 139. I would go with the Newark Bay extension, but that's not perfect as well. Andre Farrow, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check of your AccuWeather forecast. Here's meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Well, Lori, we finally saw temperatures reach the freezing mark and even got a little above freezing today across much of the area. That allowed some of the snow and ices on the ground to start melting a little bit, and anything that has melted will likely refreeze on untreated surfaces tonight as the temperatures drop down to 18 in Midtown, single digits in some northern and western suburbs. The wind will be lighter tonight, and the sky's going to stay pretty clear. While sunshine mixing with some clouds tomorrow, especially in the sun tomorrow, it should feel like a pretty nice day compared to what we've been experiencing recently, as the wind will not be as much of a factor, a high of 35. Clouding up tomorrow night, maybe a flurry or two late, low 27. Clouds will break for some sunshine Wednesday, a high 33. A little colder by Thursday, despite sunshine, high 28. Right now it's clear and 33 in Midtown, going down to 18 tonight. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
A landmark building near City Hall is rolling out free public tours.
The statue's civic fame graces the top of the David Dinkins Municipal Building. Mayor Mamdani announced plans to open this space to the public.
We're also going to invest $6 million to improve this building as we repaint the cupola, repair the rotunda, and restore this one-of-a-kind civic space to a landmark befitting Mayor Dinkins' name.
Dinkins' office as borough president was in this building before he was elected mayor. Public advocate Jumani Williams adds,
we'll have the opportunity to see the city that David Dinkins, as David Dinkins did, the gorgeous mosaic.
All 5 boroughs can be seen with that 360-degree view, and the tour will be free. Julia Papa, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Now the bottom line for small business.
The projected budget deficit exceeding $12 billion. Our mayor faces a very tough road ahead, presenting a balanced budget by February 17th. Last year, New York City added just over 27,000 jobs, a stark contrast to the average annual gains of 187,000 jobs seen during the city's 4-year recovery from the pandemic. Job losses have occurred across every major sector, except for healthcare, where many of the new positions created are lower paying. While it may not be time to hit the panic button, the recent layoffs among some of the larger employers further complicate a fiscal crisis that the new mayor inherited. And that's my view on the bottom line for small business. I'm Rob Walsh for 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
WINS FM and HD1 New York. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
33 degrees now, clear sky here in the city. The real field temperature is 22. We're going to get an update from AccuWeather in just a moment. More people get their news from 1010 wins than from any other radio station in the nation. Tanya Mercado is at the editor's desk. I'm Lori Met.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 wins on 92.3 FM. New York.
Good evening, 32 degrees now under fair skies at 6 o'clock. I'm Larry Mullins, and here's what's happening tonight. Yeah, one of the coldest stretches in 8 years. Didn't even know it. AccuWeather says we've been stuck below freezing temperatures for 9 days. The series snapped today, though, but guess what? And this guy probably had a little something to do with it.
He sees his shadow. 6 more weeks of winter.
Staten Island DA Michael McMahon there talking about Staten Island Chuck. He and his buddy in Pennsylvania say, yeah, it's going down. Also from the cold, Con Ed still working on that power grid outage impacting Gorham Hill and neighboring communities. A result of the cold, needless to say, left a lot of people with electric heat out in the cold. Also in Harlem, where the health department looking at confirmed Legionella samplings now at one of the biggest apartment buildings, 3333 Broadway. We'll tell you more about that. And your chances of making the U.S. Olympic team, much less winning a medal, could hinge on your birthday. We'll explain that one. AccuWeather says tonight, mostly clear skies, cold out there, dropping down to a low of 16 degrees. Winch News Time 6:01, getting you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrell.
Trouble on the Turnpike in New Jersey. It's the inner roadway northbound, right by Interchange 14. You have the right lane blocked. There's also a crash on the Garden State Parkway southbound over by exit 89C. Center lane is blocked and delays are kicking in. Now, if you're using the outbound Holland, you're going to need at least 25 to 30 minutes. And here's the deal. Once you get into Jersey City, it's just really rough. Westbound 139, going to be bumper to bumper heading towards Tunnelly Avenue, and the southbound Pulaski crash is still out there. The western spur would be kind of trying to get there, I should say, with the Newark Bay extension heading towards 78. You do have volume passing Liberty State Park, but again, way better than the Pulaski and 139. Westbound Staten Island Expressway, bumper to bumper from that area of Highland Boulevard to Victory Boulevard heading westbound. Once you clear the Verrazano Bridge, it's going to be waiting for you there on Staten Island. Eastbound Belt, there's a stall right by Flatbush Avenue that's going to slow you down in Brooklyn. Brooklyn Bridge, Brooklyn bound. No thank you. The outbound Lincoln Tunnel, that would be better than the Holland, by the way. You have about a 10-minute delay, and then there's big delays, unfortunately, westbound on Route 3 heading towards the western spur where there's a stall knocking out a lane. Now, the Deegan in the Bronx, northbound over by the 230s, working on that crash. And there's also a stall on the Henry Hudson Parkway over by the Mosholu, not helping matters. West Side Highway slow from 79th Street up to the George. Outbound George Washington Bridge, 30 minutes. Inbound's going to be around 20. Andre Ferro, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, depending on where you live, on where you're standing, actually, still at or below 32 degrees, the freezing mark. But as for our residency on Ice Row, ended that today after 9 days. AccuWeather says not to worry, though. It'll be back. Meteorologist Brian Thompson in the Weather Center with the latest. Brian?
Yeah, we had 9 straight days, Larry, with temperatures below freezing, at or below freezing, which ended today, ended around 1 o'clock this afternoon, when temperatures started to get above the freezing mark. The longest streak on record in Central Park is 16 days, and that's back in 1961. So came up short of that, but still, the coldest stretch of weather we've had in about 8 years, and we'll continue to have some of this cold weather over the next several days. But we're getting a little bit of a break here the next couple of days. High temperatures will at least get above the freezing mark, but then late in the week, another surge of cold. We're talking about some bitter cold again this weekend. High temperatures will only be in the teens, and there's going to be some gusty winds to contend with as well. Larry?
Thank you, Brian. And from downtown, Mayor Mamdani had some sobering news today about the impact of this weather and the toll it took on human life here in New York.
As the deep freeze continues, the death toll rises. Mayor Mamdani revealing more about these tragic events.
In 13 of these cases, preliminary findings indicate that hypothermia played a role, and 3 of these deaths appear to be overdose deaths.
He says none of those who died were in encampment, as there have been calls to dismantle them for people's safety. His Honor has ordered more outreach.
We have expanded our mobile warming units to a fleet of 20, which are moving throughout the city, equipped with clinical staff, to treat New Yorkers' needs and get them off the street.
The mayor visited a safe haven location in Midtown to see firsthand how services are provided. Juliet Papa, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Switching gears, and the most important rodent on the planet this time of year has spoken. Whoa, Punxsutawney Phil. Yeah, Punxsutawney Phil emerged from his hole today and decided to heck with this. I'm out of here. Sorry, humans, 6 more weeks. And here at home, his cousin Chuck goes, yeah, what he said.
We have consulted with Staten Island Chuck. He saw his shadow. 6 more weeks of winter.
Yep, the groundhogs say we're in for it, folks. 1010 winds hit the streets to get reaction to it all.
I can't do this cold and stuff, and it's all this snow.
so I prefer a sunny day.
But not everyone dislikes these freezing cold temperatures.
I love this weather, actually. It makes me feel like more comfortable.
It's cold, I can wear jackets and all these things. I love it.
Do we have an early spring coming after all, or are the groundhogs right and get ready for 6 more weeks of winter? We'll just have to wait and see. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Battery Park City.
And 6 more weeks of cold temps is the last thing you want to hear if your power keeps going out. And then you wonder if the cold temps are the reason your power keeps going out. Neighbors in Borum Hill, Brooklyn Heights, Red Hook, Carroll Gardens. What do we got? Cobble Hill, Fort Greene, and Dumbo. Con Ed says it might be something more like tomorrow, in fact, before they can get things totally back to normal. Some residents told 1010 Wins today the lights have been sort of flickering off and on since Friday. What in the world?
Melting snow mixed with road salt damaged underground power lines. Austin Corriger told me what the thermostat in his apartment read.
Yes, it's 46 degrees.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah.
And you're making it work today somehow with your coat on.
Exactly. I'm wearing a lot of layers indoors. I'm trying to stay warm. But yeah, like it's definitely a little chilly.
Hector Lorenzo is the super for 4 buildings on Bergen Street and said over the weekend they had power sporadically.
Hopefully they'll get it up running soon. There's a bunch of trucks out here, but what they did was the little bit of light that we did have, they shut that off too.
Full restoration is not expected until tomorrow. Marla Diamond, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Borum Hill.
The city's health department has now confirmed the presence of Legionella bacteria in one of New York's largest residential buildings.
With the weather we've been having lately, this is the last thing you want to hear.
You do not want to use warm water. You want to use cold water.
That from Councilmember Sean Abreu after 2 people got Legionnaires and the bacteria was found in the water at 3333 Broadway. Jose's kids live here.
We heard that the spray of the hot water is the one that actually transmits Legionella disease. I buy water for my kids.
That's the alternative if you don't want to use the building's water. Councilmember Abreu.
We are waiting for building management to produce a plan on how to treat the water, which I'm told can take a while.
Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in West Harlem.
1010 Wins AccuWeather now. Tonight, mostly clear and cold. Less wind, but a low of 16 nonetheless in Midtown. Single digits out in the burbs. And then tomorrow, continued cold with sun and more afternoon clouds, a high of 32. Might be a couple of flurries later tomorrow night. Right now, we are at 32 degrees.